gonna assume you clicked on this video because you are looking to improve your relationship with food. So stay tuned and let's get to the good stuff. I have made a little protocol for you to follow along to either in this video, or I will also have a printable below. You can purchase the package of all of it. That kind of takes you through this whole little journey of just rewiring this relationship with food, befriending food, and making it fun. I'm gonna have, not only is it gonna be like some guided practices and a protocol for you to follow to try and just improve your relationship with food, it's also going to give some really great information on like nutrition, just regaining that intuition around cravings and learning which cravings are healthy, which cravings aren't healthy, and being able to combat those cravings, and really great recipes that I think are just delicious. Otherwise, let's get into this protocol. What am I talking about? So I am calling this the 2-2-2 protocol. So there is going to be a timeline for sure. Is your timeline going to be exactly this? No, it's not. It's going to differ for everyone, and it might take longer, it might take shorter. When I was growing up, you would always hear that a habit takes 14 days to form. Well, that's just not statistically accurate, and it's really not, considering multiple populations. It might not be exact for you, but I think that this is just a really good baseline, and it gives you an idea of where to start and maybe what to work towards in your own time, or maybe you do follow this protocol. I would recommend the first week you really focus on just seeing where you're at. What foods do you really gravitate towards? When are your eating habits? Like, do you have snacky periods? Do you prefer to have more smaller lunches? Maybe just noticing small things like, oh, you know what? I really don't drink water at all. Or, you know what? I really gravitate towards a pop at 6 p.m. For me, I know I've never been one to be able to eat, especially right after I wake up. I really need to get some movement going, and I will have breakfast actually pretty late. And then I will have a really small lunch. My family, I never grew up eating lunch, honestly. We just had a really late breakfast, lunch, and then we would kind of have snacks. And so I've always been somebody in a snacky household. So we always have snacks around like 2 o'clock, and then we'll have dinner earlier, and then we'll actually have snacks again later on, but not super late. So that's kind of what I grew up with. It's just really great to observe these things, and I would recommend the second week you could get more specific with things. So maybe that's when you try and do the food journal. If you don't have any struggles with it or don't have any issues like me, I just couldn't commit to it. I have a really hard time remembering to commit to my planners and things, so I do struggle with the food journal, I will say. But if you're not somebody that struggles with that, definitely do it for the whole 2 weeks. It's super helpful. Otherwise, don't overwhelm yourself with it. Just do it for like that second week and focus on like, what food scraps do you have? Okay, what do I have in my kitchen right now that I can actually make nutritious meals with and really feel good about it? Like, just thinking about, how do you use what you have? What do you gravitate towards? What do you waste more of? I think the second week would be about getting more specific with it, just thinking more in depth about it and observing and forgiving yourself. Like, if you notice yourself having some unhealthy thinking patterns around it, just addressing those and reminding yourself that, you know what? I'm never gonna have a perfect diet, because nobody knows what a perfect diet is. So I'm just working to make myself feel good. It doesn't have to match anybody else around you, and you're gonna make mistakes where you feel bad and you're gonna have tummy aches. Those are not avoidable. So just having those reminders too, and just giving yourself some good, strong affirmations and why you're doing this. Okay, so I know everybody's meal plan is going to look different than mine, and everybody is going to have different food sensitivities. Everybody is going to have different things to consider. You're going to have a different amount of money. Maybe you're accounting for a whole family. Maybe you're just accounting for yourself. There's so many different things to consider. So it's, again, not cut and dry. Nothing that I say is cut and dry. My best tip is to plan. Now, I'm not saying do the month of meal prepping where you have tons of frozen foods and you don't have to cook for a month. I am not saying that. Not everybody works that way. Let me bring you into what I have been doing. Anytime that I go grocery shopping, I always just take a little peek and see what do I have in here. And I'll take a note. I use Notion. I'll leave a link below. If you use my link, you don't have to purchase, it's free. If you do purchase, I'll get a little bit of money back. But I use Notion for meal planning. I use it for vision planning. I use it for a lot of stuff. They actually have this like meal planner you can go through and you can like restock, look at your pantry, see what's already in there. I really like to be able to do that. I don't actually use this for my grocery list. I'm not like on Notion in the grocery store while I'm walking through and buying stuff, but I use Notion to look through my pantry, see what I have, and then I'll do that and meal plan. And then I actually have a printable. I'll put it in the description below. It's very simple. It's not fancy at all, but a little meal planner you could follow along with. I don't do a lot of meal planning. I'm kind of bad about it. I'm just very neglectful. I need to get better about it. But what I do is I will just go through and I'll pick a main recipe for the week, like a big recipe, and I'll make a lot of that. This week was a total accident, but I just made soup this week, and I kind of just threw all of the cans in there, and then I ended up with a lot of soup, like a way too much amount of soup. So I just froze some, and then I still had some left over. Yesterday I made some kielbasa and I used some of that red cabbage, so I was able to multi-purpose that. And then I also used some lemon wedges when I was kind of infusing the kielbasa. So now that I've kind of taken a note of everything that I have, I know that my goals, they're clear to find. I'm gonna just look at some of my recipes as well. I like to go through every so many weeks and print off some recipes just for another access of like ideas. Yes, I can scroll through Pinterest and scroll and scroll and scroll. That's the thing. That's the problem. I could just keep scrolling through Pinterest. So I kind of go through and nitpick some main ones. Like I'll pick a couple desserts, I'll pick a couple of snacks, I'll pick a couple of sourdough recipes, I'll print those out, and then I'll just reference these whenever I'm feeling like adventurous, or if it's the grocery time, I'll look and see, oh, you know what, I have some of that already, why don't I just get this, and then I can go ahead and make that. I think I want to do it. I think I'm going to do a sourdough stromboli. So before I go grocery shopping, I of course just know everything that I have, everything that I want to use those things for, and kind of like take account when it needs to be used by. And then I'll kind of plan out some meals, like what I need to get for the week. If I have, right now I have some lamb that I need to use, so I will maybe think about how I'm gonna use that lamb in my dish this week. Maybe I'm gonna make some lamb meatballs. I will go ahead and make my grocery list, group your dairy together and group them all together, because around the store, like all of your dairy products are gonna be pretty close, and then your juices will be relatively close to each other. So I always write my list kind of in the order that it's in, or I make this really weird table of like all these areas that I need to go to and group it all together, and it looks like a crazy mess that nobody else would understand but me. Make your list however it is easiest for you. I'm always great about writing a list. I always write lists for literally everything, but sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming in the grocery store. So I make sure to kind of categorize my items and make it a little bit easier for me. It's all about making it just a little bit easier for our brain because she's so overwhelmed up there. Applying. So referencing safe foods, referencing this menu. As I said before, I know this isn't gonna work for everyone. I would recommend maybe just laminating this, having this somewhere throughout your house, but just finding a place that is safe and is easy to see. So you wanna make sure that it's easily accessible and easy for you to be reminded of it. The second step to applying, or my second tip to applying, is just setting up cooking days. especially if you are somebody that's trying to implement a different diet within a family, or if you just, you and your friends are trying to do it together, or you and your lover are trying to do it together. If you're trying to do it with somebody else, I think setting up and implementing specific days to cook could be really helpful. Or if maybe you're living with roommates in college and your diet is just so different compared to theirs, setting up those boundaries and maybe, you know what, I'm going to be cooking on this day. You need to respect that this is my day to cook and I'm going to have this meal set out. If you want to cook on this day, that's totally fine. I won't do any cooking on this day that's like for you. Like, just figuring out what works and is a balance for you. And then I think that boundary part of it is also really important for if you're dealing with other people, or if you're trying to do it and you're around other people. It's really hard to deal with cravings and be exposed to those things constantly and stuff, and it can just really create this tension in the household and just a really not fun situation. So I would also suggest not only setting up meal days, like maybe more meal prepping, implementing more meal prepping. I think this can be really helpful. I do have, I actually made this for my parents when they were traveling, a monthly meal prep plan that you can follow along to. It's so basic. You can so easily make your own. It's just some kind of guide. It's a guide to give you an idea, and I include an extras and notes section on purpose because I don't want you to stress about having to eat that every day, having to eat exactly what it says written down. It's literally just to help you to reduce waste if you are somebody that noticed you have a lot of waste, and to just be really intentional with what foods you're grabbing and what foods you're grocery shopping for, and what do you use most of. Really rekindling those unhealthy relationships and just making it fun. Seeing where maybe there's some boundaries that need to be set and involving the people around you. It is so true that we are the people we are surrounded by, and we are also the things that we eat. The first week, really just focus on maybe taking notes, really solidifying those goals that you have. What foods are you really focusing on cutting out? Maybe you really want to swap some foods. And as I said before, noting what you've already been doing good. And so we can go through and think about, what habits do I already have? Like, oh, you know what? I am really good about like waiting off until I get this task done, and then like I reward myself with a snack. Well, maybe we can kind of alter and work on rewiring that relationship, and instead of the food like sweet treat being a reward, like maybe we're rewarding ourselves with a super nutritional like snack, dessert, something like that. So that actually brings me into another really good tip, which is just being prepared, setting yourself up for these like diets or for these changes, because if you are seeing a lot of stuff, like you might honestly just feel really either really encouraged to change or really discouraged to change. So I think preparing yourself, slowly adjust into them, and just doing your research. Like the meal prepping can be so helpful with like planning what foods to have. So maybe you're trying to implement more fermented foods into your diet. My biggest recommendation for this is to just pick one. Don't look up recipes, don't look up anything yet. Just pick one that you really want to try out in your diet. You don't know if you're gonna like it or not, so why are you gonna spend a bunch of money on all of these different recipes? Just pick one of those food items, okay? And then when it comes to the time to using it, or when when you're thinking of a meal, look at it, see if you have other ingredients, see what you can use it for. A lot of the times there will be a recipe on the jar that's really basic to follow, so look at that. Like, I just tried some red cabbage. I've been wanting to try some red cabbage. I've been wanting to increase the fermented foods in my diet, so I bought some and I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to use it, and I just followed the recipe that was on the jar. I didn't have to buy anything else. There were some things on the recipe that I didn't have, but I just altered them with the things I did have at home. Don't get so stuck on like, oh, what am I gonna make with it? How do I not waste it? Like, realize your unhealthy thinking patterns and try and stop those from happening and try and prevent them from happening, and just realizing them can help you to observe them and to stop them from happening. Realizing what cravings you have the most of. So like I said, our family starts to get snacks around 2 o'clock. Around 2 o'clock we start to have those salty cravings. We start to really crave chips and crackers and stuff. Well, those cravings can really tell you something about either yourself, your epigenetics, or just what cravings you're having and why, because cravings are typically our body trying to tell us something. Maybe you need to eat more of something. Maybe it's just your body telling you, hey, you know, we actually are pretty low on salt right now. Why don't we get some crackers? But we also need to be observant so that we can kind of realize and feel those times out, as compared to when we're just craving pickles and chocolate, like I talked about in my gut-brain access video. And of course, I do want to mention vitamins. As I said before, our bodies are trying to tell us stuff with cravings. So being educated on vitamins and seasonal changes and environmental differences and improving your intuition, which I think this whole series is honestly surrounding that point. It's all about like improving your intuition, improving trust within yourself, and befriending yourself, because there's such a disconnect in this world today between like being able to trust ourselves, having that intuition, being able to build it. That's what this whole series is all about. It's being able to befriend your body, befriending yourself, building yourself, and breaking bad habits. I will say that probably took longer than 6 weeks. It takes a really long time to really notice these bad habits and be able to sit with yourself with them. I think that's the hardest part, is just the guilt surrounding like, oh my gosh, I eat so horribly, I just don't even feel like it's worth it. Oh, it's so expensive. Oh my gosh, I can't even think, I can't even remember. Oh, I just always have these cravings of sugar, I just can't let it go. And sugar is so crazy. When you cut sugar out of your life, the withdrawals can be really bad. Our whole worlds are built off of something, and we grow up being taught, and we grow up in this situation, and we eat these foods growing up, and we start to kind of get an idea of what we like and what we don't like. And then it can be really hard when you get older and start to have sensitivities and stuff to realize you can't eat those same things as you used to, or realize your body is starting to have a different reaction. And it's so hard to, in general, adjust to the changes of life. It can be really just really stressful, really discouraging, really challenging, and just really hard to manage and go through when you want, like, you know, you want to do something in your life. There's so much involved in nutrition that I can't cover in this whole video, which is why there's going to be an error margin. This protocol isn't going to work for everyone, but I do believe it's just a really good baseline to help you start thinking about your relationship with food and where you're at and where you want to be even. Make sure you click the notification bell so that you don't miss when I upload, and check out my other socials if you would like to see some recipes and just check out where else I'm at. I also post a newsletter where I update on whatever topic we're focusing on. So obviously we're going to be focusing on befriending the body in this month. So if you're interested in reading the review on that, last month we talked about the gut-brain axis, and you can also listen to it. There is an audio version as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know if you find some tips helpful, or if you have tips that you would like to share as well, or a story that you find really motivational. I would love to hear it in the comments below. Don't forget that you are loved, and peace.